Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Giant Soldier of Stone Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for January 2022. This was actually a deck that I did not expect to be so popular on the channel. I made this deck a couple years ago with the actual focus of the deck not really being direct with my original deck profile, but with a little bit of tinkering, I was able to actually make a Giant Soldier of Stone deck that focuses on the actual playstyle of not only Giant Soldier of Stone, but also the playstyle of a bunch of other different rock monsters that I'm a big fan of, and maybe one day we'll see Block Dragon come off. The ban list definitely is a big help for the deck. It definitely was for the original deck, but sadly we have to do without it for this profile. But we will focus a lot on Giant Soldier of Stone and his many forms. Let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the first of the monsters, I'm running 3 Giant Soldier of Stone. It's your main go-to monster in the deck. It has a 2000 defense, which I would say is its main go-to strong suit. It also is a big focus for being able to summon out our Xyz monster, Boss Monster, which is Giant Soldier of Steel, which in turn also works with the spell card meant for the deck, which is Attack the Moon, playing onto the play that Yugi used in his duel against Mako Tsunami. So if you can set up these cards, you have the playstyle that the deck is meant to do, which is just destroy cards on your opponent's field, but being able to utilize also the different rock monsters in the deck with the many different spell and traps that support rock monsters. It definitely does make the deck more of a balanced playstyle for just Stone, or Giant Soldier Stone, if you want to call it, all together. For the next monster, I run 2 Sentry Soldier of Stone. This one is your go-to card for just more special summoning resources. If all monsters you control are rock-type monsters, minimum 1, while this card's in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. You can only use this effect of Sentry Soldier of Stone once per turn. So your main play with this card is to obviously set it up in the graveyard. And then if you have Giant Soldier of Stone on the field already and it's in the graveyard, you can special summon it out onto the field and then overlay those 2 monsters to then go into your Giant Soldier of Steel, which then gives you more of a defensive play against your opponent and a better setup for using your Attack the Moon spell card. But this resource every turn is just a plus. I only run 2 though, because once it's set up in the graveyard, it's really all you need. I run 2 just in case your opponent does banish one of the cards, so then you at least have another one that you can easily send with some of the other spell and traps we run in the deck to the graveyard. I also run 3 Block Golem. This is a more setup card. We run a few other Xyz monsters in the extra deck. I allowed it to also focus on Fusion and Link, just because we do run a variety of different levels aside from level 3 in the deck to go into. We've been showing the majority of the level 3 monsters so far, but with Block Golem, if all monsters in your graveyard are Earth, you contribute this card, target 2 level 4 lower rock type monsters in your graveyard except for Block Golem, special summon them, but their effects are they cannot be activated this turn. So they're not negated, they just can't be activated this turn. But it's once again sort of like a Rescue Rabbit setup in the deck, being able to use this card for more rock monsters. And all you have to do is have all the rock monsters in your graveyard be Earth, which a good majority of our extra deck are Earth. I would say at least 13, if I remember correctly, are Earth, while the other 2 are, I believe, Dark Attribute. So very, very easy, because then all the other monsters in the main deck are Earth monsters. So as long as your opponent doesn't change the attribute of your cards, you can make full use of Block Golem in the deck. I also wanted more of a normal monster target, so still running the Gem Knight Lapis, like I did with the last profile. We do run Unexpected Die in the deck to get Giant Soldier of Stone onto the field that much more quickly, but also just having another target resource in the form of Gem Knight Lapis and having different rock monsters not only gives us access to fusion monsters in the extra deck like Gem Knight Zirconia and also Gem Knight Lapis Lazuli, but also more special summon resources in case we run out of normal monsters, like I said. And working with a lot of rock monsters, I also run 3 Doki Doki. You can discard 1 rock type monster to special summon from your deck 1 rock type monster that has the same original attribute and level as that monster in face up attack position or face down defense position. You can only use this effect of Doki Doki once per turn. There are a lot of good cards that work with this. I'll go over some combos at the end of the video that you can use with Sentry Soldier of Stone and Giant Soldier of Stone with this card, but it just sets up all the plays if you have this card. It is an easy Ash Blossom target that your opponent may try to use, but if you can successfully special summon, then you just can go from there, setting up more rock monsters in your graveyard also. For some of the lower numbers and the other level 4 monsters that I run in the deck, I run 2 Mormolith. You contribute 1 face-up Earth monster to destroy all face-up monsters with defense equal or less to the attack of the monster attributed with this card. Now, the Giant Soldier of Stone is a risky card to use unless you know what your opponent has, attack-wise, obviously, to destroy. But there are other bigger targets that we run in the deck that can easily be destroyed for the tribute, and then getting rid of a good number of our opponent's other cards. I also run 2 Guardian Statue. This is another target to use with the level 4 monsters we run, to use with Doki Doki to special summon in face down defense position, and then when it's flipped up successfully, being able to return one of our opponent's monsters back to their hand just means that it takes away some of their resources, especially if it's an extra deck monster. And I also run 1 Tackle Crusader. This can be used with either the field spell Catapult Zone or the Rock Bombardment, which we run in the deck, because if it's sent to the graveyard, you can activate one of these effects. You can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, change it to face-down defense position, so it's an easy way to disrupt a lot of your opponent's plays. Or you can use the Spell or Trap card bounce to target a face-up spell or trap your opponent controls, return it to the hand, and then this turn your opponent can activate cards with the same name as that card. I only run 1 though, because if we open up too many, it doesn't really do anything else for me in the hand. You want to have it in the deck so you can send with your other spell and trap cards. And then lastly, for the main deck monsters, I run 3 Rescue Rabbit. We have the Lapis target and the Giant Soldier Stone target. So once again, just using Rescue Rabbit to summon out 2 Giant Soldier Stone onto the field to then overlay into your go-to Xyz monster. And also with this option, even if you don't use Rescue Rabbit, it is still an Earth monster, so it won't restrict you with cards like Block Golem on the graveyard to summon out. That is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I run 3 Attack the Moon. It's a continuous spell once per turn. When the battle position of a rock-type monster you control is changed, you can target 1 spell or trap your opponent controls and destroy that target. So whether you go on the offensive with Giant Soldier of Stone, which I rarely do, but is the playstyle that is shown on Attack the Moon, you can destroy one of your opponent's spell or traps. But most of the time, just depending on what rock monster battle position you change, you have a spell and trap destruction as well. So especially with cards like Guardian Statue, if you flip the card face up, not only will we be able to bounce a monster with Guardian Statue, but it's a rock monster, so also then you'll be able to destroy a spell or trap your opponent controls. A 2 destruction card, basically, with just 1 monster. We run Gem Knight Lapis and also Giant Soldier of Stone, so I run the 3 Unexpected Die. If you have your normal summon ready to go, and then just being able to special summon another one can give you access to your Giant Soldier of Steel with those 2 cards. It's an easy special summon. I like running 3. You have plenty of targets for it as well in the deck. And for some of the other lower numbers for the spells, I run 2 Catapult Zone. Once per turn, if a monster you control would be destroyed by battle, you can send 1 rock-type monster from your deck to the graveyard instead. So sitting on the defense of Giant Soldier of Stone, your opponent may try to get over this card with some of their higher attack point monsters, but you can play defensively with Catapult Zone, just being able to protect that card, sending a rock-type monster, and one of the cards you can send is Tackle Crusader. So if your opponent has 2 monsters that will then be able to attack over Giant Soldier of Stone, you can send Tackle Crusader, switching that monster to face-down defense position as long as it is not a link monster, and then have more protection to then get out hopefully another monster next turn to use for an extra deck summon with Giant Soldier of Stone. I only run 2 though. It really doesn't give you any pluses. I feel 2 is all you need. If anything, your opponent will try to get rid of it on the field to stop the protection for your own rock monsters, but once again, you have other cards to search it. With the Gem Knight option in the deck as well, I run 2 Polymerization, a fusion option to go into the many different fusions we run in the extra deck. I'll go over some of them, but we do run Lapis Lazuli and Zirconia, which Zirconia just needs a rock monster and a Gem Knight monster, and Lapis Lazuli, as long as you use the Rescue Rabbit target with 2 Lapis, you have the fusion summon for that card. I preferred Polymerization over Gem Knight fusion in the deck just for some of the other better search options, which I'll go over when we get to the trap cards. For the 1-ofs for the spells, I run 1 Terraforming. This is for the Catapult Zone, just to search out the field spell quicker, and also 1 Foolish Burial for setting up Sentry Soldier of Stone in the graveyard to then special summon out. And lastly, 1 Monster Reborn. There's really no restrictions with any of the monsters we run in the deck, so just another special summon option onto the field definitely does come in handy. And that is it for the spells. Moving on to the traps, I run 3 Rock Bombardment. You select 1 rock monster in your deck, send it to the graveyard, inflict 500 points of damage to your opponent, and then shuffle your deck. So with it, you can either send Sentry, Soldier of Stone to have a monster to special summon. You can send the Tackle Crusader, like I said with the Catapult Zone, to flip one of your opponent's monsters face down, or return one of their spell and traps back to their hand that they can't use. You can set up other monsters that you may want to special summon with some of your other spells. You have endless means with this trap card for your graveyard setup with your rock monsters. If we had Block Dragon, it'd be that much more scary of a play in the deck, but sadly, like I said, I don't see that card coming off the ban list anytime soon, but if it does, it'll definitely be an addition in the deck. And lastly, for the traps, I run 2 Fusion Reserve. Now, what's great about this is I run this card with the intention not to search out Gem Knight Lapis, but actually to search out the Giant Soldier of Stone. I was, when I was doing more research for the deck, I was just as shocked to find out that Giant Soldier of Stone is a target for Fusion Reserve. I like running 2 of it because then you can also recycle the polymerization. The card you can search and reveal is your Mystical Sand. It needs Giant Soldier of Stone and Ancient Elf. I don't run Ancient Elf in the deck, but all you have to do is reveal the fusion monster and add one of those fusion materials, and then adding Giant Soldier of Stone to our hand, and then the polymerization, meaning we can use the Giant Soldier of Stone and any other normal monsters or Gem Knight monsters to then go into the fusion play using this card. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. I run 2 Giant Soldier of Steel. It needs 2 level 3 rock monsters. It's unaffected by other monster effects. And once per turn, during either player's turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card. It gains 1000 defense until end phase. And if it does, you take no effect damage from your opponent's card. So being able to stop burn damage, kind of specific for some of the decks in the game. It's mostly for that defensive play. And it can also be the one that you switch to attack position with Attack the Moon, because then you can still get the destruction with this card while having, I would say it's still an attack position card that's on par with Giant Soldier of Stone, but more of a useful one because it's unaffected by your opponent's monster effects. I also run 1 Gorgonic Guardian. Now, the biggest weakness with this card is it will shut down your Block Golem because it is a dark attribute monster that is rock. It needs 2 level 3 rock monsters, but still very, very useful for taking out some resources your opponent may have. So I do recommend running it, but be wary that you will be locking yourself out of the Block Golem play if you do use it. And then lastly, for the Xyz monsters, 1 Gallet Granite. Being able to search out a good majority of the rock monsters with this card, but just needing 2 level 4s gives me more access to cards like Guardian Statue and also the additional Rescue Rabbit or Mormolith that I use in the deck to summon out. For the Link monsters, I run 1 Clara and Rushka. This can help to set up Sentry of Soldier in the graveyard for a special summon once I get another rock monster on the field. 1 for the setup with 2 Link Spider as well, having plenty of normal monsters to give me resources out on the field to use, and their Earth as well, so they don't really disrupt any of the Block Golem plays. And also 1 Nightmare Cerberus, 1 Mrs. Radiant, and 1 Reprodocus for the attribute change. And also 1 Saryuja. This is more for the draw power. It definitely does come in handy with the special summon. And also for a Link 4 Earth target to use to not cut you out of any of the plays in the deck. Like I said, the Gorgonic Golem was one of the few that I run in the deck, but it's more of a card that you'll use definitely in those situations. For the fusion monsters, I run the 1 Mystical Sand. This is so you have the fusion reserve target to then reveal and add Giant Soldier of Stone to your hand to use. And also the 1 First of the Dragons. Now this card is a boss monster needing 2 normal monsters, so if you have polymerization, you can fuse your 2 Giant Soldier of Stones into this card and have more of a pesky card for your opponent to get over. But once again, it is a dark attribute monster, so it'll shut you out of the Block Golem plays, so remember that when using this card. And then lastly, the 1 Lapis Lazuli and the 1 Zirconia for the rest of the fusion targets with the polymerization in the deck. As for some of the go-to plays in the deck, the Doki Doki play can help set up your Giant Soldier of Steel play right then and there. All you have to do is discard another level 3 monster, so you'll summon out the Doki Doki, and then discard 1 rock monster. So you will discard, it can either be Sentry of Stone or even the Giant Soldier of Stone or any other level 3. Very, very useful but to get out Sentry Soldier of Stone. So it has to be the original attribute and level in face-up attack or face-down defense. So you'll summon out the monster if you discard the Sentry Soldier of Stone. And then all you control rock monsters, you can summon out your Sentry Soldier of Stone, going for the overlay of the 2 to then go into your Giant Soldier of Steel with just those cards, giving you then a resource to go for the defense with Sentry Soldier and setting up your Giant Soldier of Steel. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I'm glad I was able to update the Giant Soldier of Stone deck. I've wanted to for a while, and I'm happier with the results from this deck than the last update, so I hope you all enjoyed as well. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.